As far as last week, I had submitted an online audition, and I got a call back for that. I ended up turning the role down after all said and done, after auditioning and whatnot. And the reason I turned it down was because after getting a copy of the full script, I got the sides for the audition, but then getting into it and talking about it and seeing the full script, I didn't like the direction of the characters. I thought it was like very, the dialogue was very like cliche and typical, and I just felt it was kind of just very out of touch. Without getting too much details, it was basically a group of 4 guys that were signed up by their significant others, girlfriends or wives, to go to this counseling session to learn how to communicate better. Now, am I offended by that? No, I don't give a shit. Because honestly, most people need counseling, and there's nothing wrong with having some type of guidance to become a better person. Whether it be a counselor, whether it be a book, whether it be a video series, whether it be, just a really good friend who genuinely cares about you and wants to see you successful and happy and healthy and all that type of stuff. So overall, it was like, fine, I get it. And the kicker is yes, it was a paid gig too. It wasn't, an unpaid gig. It was a paid. So I turned it down and turned down the money. And the reason being is because I didn't like the development of the characters. Even though it did kind of have a little arc, I thought it was a very, very little arc. It was almost flat to where the characters really didn't get anything out of it. The 4 characters, 4 guys, range from 22 to 50. I would have been playing the 50-year-old, obviously. And I don't know. I was supposed to be playing, this grumpy guy that didn't want to be there. I was like, well, I can play that because I've been grumpy, and there are places I don't want to fucking go. So I can tap into that, and I can do that. So what's up, girl? I don't know. I started looking at it, and what the feeling that I got from it was the Dan Connor character played by John Goodman from Roseanne in the 90s. Now, when the Roseanne show started, the first couple years was funny. It was very lighthearted. It was funny. It was whimsical. It was a comedy based off of the show was based off of her stand-up comedy characters and routines. And I liked it. It was a fun show. But then I noticed in seasons 3 and 4, it started taking a darker turn. And then we started getting into, and I'm speaking specifically, the kids didn't listen. They had smart mouths. They had bad attitudes. They were getting into trouble. They felt entitled. They could do whatever the fuck they wanted, whenever the fuck they wanted. And there was consequences, but, and the parents tried to teach them lessons. But it didn't seem like the lessons sank in, because in, another episode or 2 or something like that, they're just getting into trouble again, because honestly, the kids are just shitty kids. I didn't like the characters, but I especially didn't like the way that the dad character was represented, which is he went to work and he was hardworking. He did whatever he could to provide for his family. But when he got home, he had no real authority. He was considered dopey. His viewpoints were always wrong. And because he was a man, that type of bullshit, I can't fucking stand that, personally. And the reason I can't, my wife does not do that to me. We have mutual respect for each other, and we back each other up. We are a team. So I personally just couldn't do that. I couldn't identify that. And looking at the dialogue, it was very stereotypical, to where it's almost like these young filmmakers had no real personal experience in any of these situations. Like, maybe they've never even had a girlfriend or something. I don't know. They've definitely never been married and gone through those struggles, which is fine. But it almost seems like a lot of the dialogue was based off of the character development, was based off of just things that they've seen in TV shows and movies that they grew up on. Man, this thing's really trailing. So, and not that there's anything wrong with that, is like gaining influence through other people's, forms of artwork. That's fine. But if you don't dive into your research enough, then your characters do end up flat. And that's what I really felt by the end of the script. I'm like, these characters are kind of flat, now if that's the way that the arc is supposed to go, if it's supposed to be a flat arc intentionally, but I don't think it was intentionally that way. I just don't think that they could write the characters' experience in a relationship because maybe they don't know what that's like. For example, I'm not going to write a coming of age tale of a teenage girl and her struggles through adolescence, going through junior high and high school or something like that. I'm not writing that fucking story. Could I write that story? With the help of my wife and daughters, yeah, I could probably help. If I research it enough, I could write it. But if I'm just writing it off of what I think or what I've seen on TV or movies or something like that, then I'm going to miss the audience completely. So I didn't want to play the character. And so I chose not to play that character. Now people say, yeah, but it's money and you need the experience. It's like, and you need to build a reel and you need to show people an act. It's like, there will come a time. I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. It's not that I'm overconfident, but I am confident. And I do need to pick smart roles. So who is it? I saw a little, I think it was a YouTube short or something like that. And it was with Glenn Powell, the guy who played Hangman in Top Gun Maverick. And he was talking about, and I'm paraphrasing, it's not an exact quote, but he was talking about how he landed the role in Maverick. And he was saying how he had originally auditioned for Rooster, but he didn't get it. But then I guess Tom Cruise personally had called him and said, hey, I want you to, I think he said meet with me and the director, I think. But it was definitely meet with Tom Cruise. Excuse me. I still want you to do something in this project. And I'd like to discuss another role for you. So Powell was saying that he meets with Tom Cruise, and I think he met with the director as well. But I know he met with Tom Cruise, and I guess Cruise had asked him, was like, what type of career, what do you want your career to look like? And Powell's response was basically, I want it to look like yours. I want to do all these movies and this, and be famous and, acting and, these blockbusters and that type of thing. And I guess Tom's response was, how do you think I got here? How do you think I got a career like that? And Powell's response was, well, you chose great roles. And Cruise's response back was, no, I chose great movies. And whatever the role was, again, I'm paraphrasing, whatever the role was, Cruise said, I made that role great. And Powell was saying that completely changed my perspective. And if you look at it, he did a great job with the Hangman character. It was believable that he was, probably one of the best pilots or the best pilots, outside of Maverick. But he was cocky about it and he was a douchebag and he kind of only saw his own way. He fit the character very well. And so that kind of resonated with me, which is picking movies. Do this again, it keeps trailing. That you want to do. There's been some projects I've submitted for, and I'm like, hey, that sounds like a fun project. I can do that, and that just seems like a lot of fun. This particular project and that's the other thing. Who the fuck, in my opinion, wants to watch an hour and a half, 2-hour movie of 4 guys sitting in a circle, pissing and moaning about doing a counseling session that they don't actually want to do? And then it's like, oh, but then they start talking and then it comes to light that, they needed it and they learned to communicate a little bit and blah, blah, blah. And they kind of got something out of it. It's that side. It's like, well, maybe I'll apply this knowledge when I go home to my wife, or I'll start working on that. I just felt it just wasn't a project for me. Now, is it a bad project? No, it just wasn't for me. I'm looking for something else. And it's okay if you choose. And the reason is because I need to know, number one, I need to know what my typecast is. And that's something when I talk to other younger actors and I see videos and talk to people online in different forums, a lot of people don't have their type. They don't know what their typecast is. And so therefore they're just out there, well, I'm 22 and, I'm 22, I'm female. So I'm going to play every fucking 22 female. It's like, but you can't. You can't. You don't have enough life experience to play every 22-year-old female that exists on planet Earth for the history of mankind. You can't. So you have to know what your typecast is. There are movies, and we all have movies like, ooh, that was, not cast well. It's like that guy didn't do a good job. Not be, it's like, and it can be like a great actor. It's like, oh man, that role really didn't work for them. It's like, well, because they were playing something that they typically don't play, and it was too much and it just didn't work, or it was a bad script and dialogue sucked. That's the biggest thing. I have a pet peeve with dialogue. I don't know. I really struggle. And I talk to other writers, and they're starting to see the same thing. Like, yeah, I'm really struggling with dialogue. Either they don't get it and they're struggling to try to write it, or they see other writers or other films and like, yeah, dialogue does suck. It doesn't make sense. So, but I have my theories on that one too. But anyways, you have to pick roles that are going to work for you. I'm interested in, do I like the movie? Do I like the movie? It's not just, obviously you're going to see the character first. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to play Bill, and Bill is 50, and Bill just retired from being a sheriff, and he was a sheriff for 25 years, and that type of stuff. Can you play that? It's like, yeah, I can play that. Okay, now let me read the script for the movie. You gave me some sides and you told me about the character a little bit, but now I need to know what the movie is. I need to know the project if I give a fuck about your project. Because if I don't care about your project, then we're not going to work together well, and it's really going to feel forced. Maybe you think I'm right for the fit, and maybe I think I can play this role, but if I don't like that project, then it's going to show, in the editing room. So I need to make sure that I like that project, not just the role. And then you can kind of play with the role depending on the director that you get. I've heard some directors, they're pretty like, nope, this is what I envision. Tarantino's kind of famous for that one. Tarantino was famous for, don't fuck up my script. My script it's perfect. It's my script. I'm Quentin Tarantino. I'm making a fucking script. It was a bad impression, by the way. But I've listened to him in certain other interviews, and where he's like gotten onto people like A-list, like Oscar winner. Who was it? I think you guys have all seen it as well. Jamie Foxx. Didn't Jamie Foxx win an Oscar? Jamie Foxx. Did he win an Oscar? Yeah, he won an Academy Award for Ray. Yeah, he won an Academy Award for Ray. Then gets on Django, wins Ray, Academy Award winning director, gets on Django, comes in, portrays the character. Tarantino, the story goes, Tarantino pulls him aside and it's like, fuck, you fucking up my character? What are you doing? It's like, you're playing it this, and the character is this. Do this, or I'll find someone else. I mean, when you're an Oscar-winning actor, and you probably think your shit don't stink, and I don't know if he does, and then the director's like, you are fucking up my film. If you can't do my film my way, get the fuck out. So I'm sure that can be humbling too, which is funny. But there has to be that connection. Now, the only person, and this is per interviews I've seen with Tarantino himself, who has kind of made suggestions and changed Tarantino's mind is DiCaprio. He didn't think I watched, he did a documentary called Django versus Django. And it's about spaghetti westerns, and there's the two Sergios who are famous for directing spaghetti westerns in the 1960s in Italy. And he was talking about there's this part where he was talking about his Django Unchained and how he wasn't really necessarily, it's not that he wasn't confident in DiCaprio, it was he didn't know how, if Capra was going to be able to deliver on what he wanted. And then, you know, we get obviously what we got out of DiCaprio. DiCaprio didn't have a huge role necessarily in Django. I think his role was only like 10, 15 minutes worth of screen time or something like that. But, you know, it's unforgettable at this point, you know, especially the whole boom and and, you know, that type of shit. That was fucking amazing, you know? And so he did that. And then I guess for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you know, he was able to make suggestions. And apparently Tarantino is not a guy you make suggestions to, but DiCaprio can get away with it. So I've heard the same thing kind of about Scorsese as well, which is he already has a vision. And I mean, it's Martin fucking Scorsese. The guy's like 80 something years old and he makes great movies. Scorsese says, hey, I already have a vision and this is what I want you to do. It's like, okay, then fucking do it. So, but anyways, I don't want to go into someone else's film thinking that I don't know what their vision is necessarily. I need to be open-minded and absorb what they're kind of giving off and what they're looking for and try to deliver that. Because again, you're a contracted worker. That's what you are. That's their movie. It's not your movie. It's their movie. You know, especially a lot of these you know, smaller independents, they're typically the writer and the director. And that's their movie, man. That's their baby. That's their project. They're the ones who spent a lot of time developing this story. And just because I don't like it or just because I don't agree with it doesn't give me the right, one, to shit on it, and two, to necessarily have an opinion on it either. You know, you're paid to do the job. Do the fucking job. Shut your mouth. Know your role, jabroni. So that's that. One of the other things, yeah, that's about it for, you know, this particular video, which is, you know, I applied for it and it just didn't fit. And maybe you're thinking, well, I got to take everything, but you're not necessarily going to take everything. And I see this when I talk to other actors, beginner actors like myself, or, you know, I see posts online and they're struggling. And they're struggling because they're like, oh, well, I've been acting for 2 years and I've gotten a few parts here. And, you know, I'm just not further than I wanted to be. It's like, I don't know, you know, maybe number one, you should, you know, enjoy the journey a little bit more. But also maybe your expectations are a little bit, your ego's getting ahead of you. Maybe you're not that fucking good. You ever think of that? Maybe you're not that fucking good. And I don't mean that to like, hey, you should think like beat yourself up over it. But maybe you're not that good for that particular role. Maybe you're not a good fit for that particular role. So people aren't seeing your best work because you're just taking every piece of shit that flies your fucking way. Be a little bit more picky and choosy than you are. And if you're using acting, like you're a beginner actor and like, yeah, but I gotta survive off of this stuff. It's like, that's not necessarily that. You're gonna fail. And I don't mean you're gonna fail, but statistically you're gonna probably fail. And I hope you don't. If you don't have a day job that gives you a comfortable living, and any type of skill to where you can create some side hustles to make up for the money that your day job may be not being able to provide. You know, if you're doing the whole waitress thing or barista thing, and which is great and it's fun, there's nothing wrong with that, and you live on your own, it's like you got to come up with other ways to hustle and to make some money. You got to do something. And that's one of the reasons why I suggest, if you can, you know, try to borrow a camera, you know, make a deal with a friend or a family and get into photography and get into videography, you know, go to local businesses and, you know, offer to, if you got a friend who has a business or something like that. Who was that one lady? Rachel Peterson. She does marketing on TikTok. And I remember hearing her story about how I think she was just like a stay-at-home mom, and she was just playing around on TikTok during the day or something like that. And she had a friend who owned a hair salon, and she asked her friend, just like they were just like talking or goofing around or something like that, hey, I could make TikTok content for you. And she started learning from there how to navigate through TikTok, and then she kind of became a TikTok expert. And then she turned it into a marketing company and agency, and then she's got a course, and I think she's got a book maybe, and she does, talks and stuff like that. I mean, she's come a long way in the last 5-6 years. So she developed a talent. And I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to turn into some millionaire TikToker or something like that, but if you got a phone, you can start doing something. I do photography, and I remember a couple of years back, I was doing a photo shoot with a family, and there was someone there. They were a paid photographer, and I was very, very impressed because it took a lot of courage to charge someone money and they were only using their phone. Because you, as the end user, could be like, why the hell would I pay someone money to take photos of me on a phone? My phones are pretty fucking good. I mean, you can get some good quality out of it. Just because, it doesn't look like this fucking monstrosity over here doesn't mean that you can't do the exact same work. You can. You just got to understand how to use the features and functions on your phone. That's it. You can do that in a couple hours in some YouTube videos. I'm gonna do photography on the weekends, or it's going into September, October. People are going to start wanting to do that. You can put together a nice little package where someone gets 10 high definition photos. They're all going to be high definition. High definition photos, and you're only charging them, say, $50. And maybe you're shooting it on a phone. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you can even explain if they're like, oh, you're shooting on a phone, you're not using a camera. It's like, and you can explain to them, it's like, well, the difference between my phone and the camera is my phone actually has more pixels. And, it's like, I got the Pro whatever. So I'm not saying lie to them. But when you get into like the pro side of the camera side on your phone, you can do a lot of stuff similar to that. You can change shutter speed, you can change your ISO, you can change your white balance and stuff like that. I don't know how it is on an Apple. I have an Android, and I know the Android cameras are pretty advanced. So I'm shooting right now this on an S23. My one daughter, we got it by just by happenstance, because they ran out because we got everybody a phone. So my one little daughter, she actually has S23 Pro or some shit. So hers is a little bit bigger and has way more features. I'm like, the fuck do you have that? So, but you can do something like that, and you go to Facebook groups. I know Facebook is for the old people. Facebook groups work. That is a great place to network. You can go into whatever your city is. So let's say Phoenix here is the major city in Arizona. So you go to Facebook groups, and even your local neighborhood. Like my HOA has a Facebook group. You can start off just in your HOA if you're not that comfortable, and be like, hey, I'm a beginner photographer. I'm putting myself through, college, and I'm doing photo shoots where you get 10 unique high definition photos for only $50 or $75 or whatever you decide, $100. You can't make it outrageous. You're not charging $200-$300 for the session, for an hour session, because if you're a beginner, you're not worth it. But anywhere from $50 to $100 is reasonable. And what you can start off, because you're going to need some test shots. If you have a sibling, you have a little sister, a little brother, and not like a kid, but like say you're 22 and you got like an 18-year-old sibling that you can do a little photo shoot, or some friends be like, hey, can I do a photo shoot with like you and your friends, or you have some friends, something like that. Just go to a local park, a nice park. Make sure you don't have a whole bunch of, check your background, so you don't have a whole bunch of like crap in the background, and snap some photos and, try to edit those. See if you have a free editing software on your phone. I know Apple does. Android doesn't come with a free editing software. You can edit on the phone, but don't oversaturate it. Don't overdo the vibrancy. Don't overdo the fucking colors and make it look dumb. And please, for God's sake, stop putting filters on shit. Holy crap, the amount of filters I see, and yes, this is kind of a personal thing. Just about every damn local photographer that gets started, they all use the exact same whitewashed filter. And it's like, oh, but I'm making it look like a dream sequence. It looks stupid. And photographers have been doing the same damn photo for the last 10 years. Everybody, especially here in Arizona, dress up in your Sunday best, go out to the fucking desert, pretend you walked out of the desert dressed in the way you did, and you're laughing and having a good time and smiling. It's like, it's just a dumb photo in my opinion. Their composition is garbage. You got, like, right now I use the grid. So you got the 9-box grid. So you got 2 coming down there and you got 2 coming across there. These right there, and you can't see them because I haven't put them on the screen. Those are your fucking points of interest. So see how this is slightly more interesting? Now we have the eye line there, and you have head space, and you're not like way up here. You're not doing a super close up or something like that. Make sure the people aren't too spread apart. I saw one person, they made a photo, and they had a person over in this grid. They had they had 2 people in this grid, and they had 1 more person over here. And then they were standing between 2 cactuses. So it was person, cactus, 2 people, cactus, person. It was the dumbest goddamn composition I've probably ever seen in a fucking photo. But I appreciate the creativity, but I'm not fucking paying for that. That just looks stupid. So watch people do photography, and every 20 to 25 year old has a photography, video, how to take photography, or how to start a photography business. If they're not a photographer YouTube channel dedicated, don't listen to them. If they just that's just a video they did because they got 150,000 followers, and they just, it's like, here's how to start a photography business. Bitch, you ain't a photographer. What the fuck are you talking about? Just because you watch some YouTube videos and you're regurgitating the shit on your video so you can create content that week because you had nothing to fucking talk about. Oh my gosh. Let's look at actual photographers and their compositions. Okay. Anyways, I know I'm kind of getting off tangent, but you can do photography as an example. Get some friends together, do some test shots, make them look good, try to figure out how to edit them, and you got YouTube University. Make sure you're looking at, like I said, accounts where the account is about photography, not just your favorite YouTuber or some YouTuber because you searched up how to start a photography business or something like that. Don't follow half those people. If their content is not, like I said, to reiterate, if their content is not primarily about photography, they're just regurgitating another video that they saw. They're not necessarily wrong, but they don't necessarily know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay. Anyways, you can do something like that. If you have a friend or a parent or whatever that has a business, one of the things is creating commercials and creating video content can be scary and intimidating. Maybe you don't necessarily know how to do that, and that's fine. You can take product. They have a restaurant and they need photos for their social media. It's like, okay, well, do something like that. You get a little setup at a table in the corner of the restaurant or something like that, and you just decorate the little thing. It doesn't have to be much. And then, they just plate the food, and all you're doing is compositing it to where, it looks pretty good, and you take a photo. Okay. Don't use your flash. It's another thing. If you're using your cell phone, never use your flash on your camera. On my cameras, never use my flash. Use a different external flash. I have flash. I have strobes. I have what's called slaves, which is, it's basically it's like radio, not radioactive, but it radio communicates from the camera. So I push the button And if I have the camera here and the lights facing you there, it'll flash it. So have stuff like that, have constant lights, a whole bunch of shit, but you don't use your onboard camera. The photos will look like garbage. You get different flashes. And then I actually have a flash that mounts to it and does that too, but that's different. So anyways, businesses also need testimonials. That's something I don't see a lot of businesses take advantage of. And I think that's a huge, huge opportunity missed, which is video testimonials. So again, if you have a friend or you just go out to, some of the local businesses in your strip mall and be like, hey, I'm just starting off and like to, do some video testimonials, and try to figure out how to do a video testimonial, something like 60 seconds. You can use ChatGPT on what questions to ask them. You need 3 to 5 questions on what to ask video testimonial, and you guys figure out the wording. Give me 3 to 5 questions for a video testimonial for a nail salon. That's it. And then do the same thing for a coffee shop and the hairstylist and the cell phone repair guy and whatever. So this way they can put that up on their website. Make sure they have a website. I actually did a whole project for a Muay Thai studio one time where I did an interview, a half-hour interview with a coach. And then I did a whole bunch of video testimonials, and then I made a commercial for it, and everything looked clean and he liked it. This guy messaged me back, no shit. And he's like, oh, these look really great. This is awesome. What am I supposed to do with it? Number one, you put all of them on your YouTube channel, and you can start putting them on your social media sites, and they're supposed to go on your website. So send these to your web developer, whoever developed your site, and tell them to start embedding this into your site. So he pays for this whole project, gets all this content, never posted a single thing, and it never went up on his websites. Never contacted the web developer. I've had several clients like pay me and to do a lot of work for them, and then just never use any of the work. Not because they were unhappy with it or it sucked, just because they didn't know what to fucking do with it. It's like, I'm gonna teach you what to do with this too. Come on, man. That's marketing services now. I got to charge you more. So, anyways, those ideas, side hustles to be able to do the acting in order to pursue the career. But keep the acting as a hobby. When you start, it's not that you're not taking it serious. You're obsessed with it and you're learning about it and growing about it, but you're having fun doing it. When the hobby turns into the job and you didn't enjoy the process turning it into a job, well, now the job's not fun. So when I was an assistant martial arts instructor, if I did not enjoy being an assistant, by the time I became an instructor, I would not have enjoyed being an instructor. So it's the same thing. So anyways, until next time.